Hey everyone, this is JPO, and today I'm joined with...
Christopher!
Yes, we have a podcast name in brackets.
Brackets.
Anyway, Christopher, how are you doing today?
Doing fine, and you? Oh,
I-
whoa. Sorry. Skype now has a captions option?
They've always had a captions option.
No, they haven't. This is the first I've seen it.
They've had it for years, Christopher.
No.
They've
Then
had
why
it
am I seeing it for the first time?
because they put it where it's more visible. Before you had to search for it in your more section.
Okay. Should I? I'm going to turn on the captions then.
They are ridiculous.
Are they?
Yes.
Okay, it says
Yeah.
turning captions on in English.
Yeah. It'll take a second before they start working. When they do, it's fun. Because they don't get it right half the time.
Okay, so now they're just on.
Cool.
And so far, it looks pretty solid so far. We shall see what will happen. Huh?
You know, I speak. I'm trying to just say. So you cannot defer. What did it say?
It said, I speak. I try to do. Just say I like you, so you cannot defer.
Okay.
Is it getting better?
It's something.
Okay. So you asked me, what should we do this podcast?
I did.
And I actually thought about this. I had an idea before we started the podcast.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, because I think one thing that we're going to be doing this episode is going over the ambient playlist.
Okay, yeah.
I had an idea that instead of just talking normally, we express our thoughts ambiently.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll try and get a musical instrument.
Just like how ambient music, there's like no words, not a lot of like distinct musical ideas.
Okay.
I think this episode we shouldn't speak anymore. We should just like communicate through groans.
Does that work as ambient?
Yeah, it
does. Before we get to that segment of the podcast, though, we should.
I thought that would be the whole podcast. It should start like now.
We should start with the important stuff. Like, what did we watch? No, I'm serious.
No, John. Here's the thing: you have to express that through ambience.
No, see.
Yes.
You see.
Let's see.
I really want to. I just really want to get this. Come on, let's do it.
I mean, you can express what you've watched, but through ambience. Come on, John. Let's give it a shot. Like, come on.
All right.
Get out the kazoo and let me see if I can guess what you watched.
Kazoo. Okay. So.
Come on.
Today's episode, guys, we are going to be doing Ambiance.
Yeah.
Please listen very closely to what it is we're doing. This will be the case for however long we can keep this up. I'm sure that there's not going to be many listeners, but if you're driving and you listen to this, it's... Okay.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening, everybody.
See, now I know how you got the idea for the podcast.
How did I get the idea?
We were doing this very earlier. Of just
No. It actually wasn't. No, it legitimately like 30 minutes ago. I'm like, that would be the stupidest idea. It would be hilarious.
See, you ruined it.
Like that played into it.
Do you know what my plan was once you mentioned, like, let's just do it? Was to leave the room and just let the thing record for half an hour.
Oh my
Honestly, I
gosh.
would have done that. This is at least, hey, at least we're back for now.
We're back for now. Until we want to continue expressing our emotions through groanings.
Through ambience, you mean?
Yeah, ambience. Sorry,
Yes.
I was thinking in a Christian term, which is groanings.
Yes, groanings.
Okay. What did you watch, John?
What did I watch? That's a good question. You see, we watch things all the time. I cannot per se that I watched any movies this past week, because this past week we started finals, and I did that, and it was fine. I did my senior project. I presented in front of the faculty my defense for my process of what we did with the show. A show which we closed today, which I'm happy for.
Yay!
So all I have left is one more final. And I'm good. And it's like great. It's really great, Christopher. So anyway, what did I watch? I watched the Avengers United They Stand, a cartoon from 1999. It's not very good. Here's the thing to point out. It's like the very first Avengers animated thing. It's its own animated series. We have the entire 90s that wants to do the Avengers. Like, we have the X-Men cartoon, we got Spider-Man, we got Iron Man trying to do the Avengers by having too many characters. Like, they were wanting to do Avengers, but they didn't. And then they make this show at the end of the century of the 90s. And here's what I wrote. After years of waiting for an Avengers cartoon in the 90s, this show does not deliver. All the main Avenger characters are retired, and this show focuses on a younger group. It's not a bad concept, but the Avengers had never been established at this point. It's equivalent to Justice League Unlimited, the cartoon, but you never got the original Justice League show, and all the favorite characters only appear in one episode. All the art direction is all over the place. It's over-designed, and it's messy to look at. None of the plot lines get resolved by the end of the show because it got canceled. This series is almost a waste of time. It really is. Overall, an obvious attempt at reaching an audience that they didn't quite have figured out yet. Not very good. Would not recommend. Like, I'm looking at, and one of the characters on the poster is like in one episode in the premiere, and then he's missing the entire rest of the show.
That is wild.
And he is like a center figure on this poster design. Why? I don't know. I don't even know who he is. Like, really. So anyway, that's that show. Now I'm watching, because Disney Plus added a couple animated shows, Spider-Man animated shows. I'm watching the 2003 animated Spider-Man made by MTV.
I didn't realize that's a.
Okay. Yeah, it's a very obscure thing that you wouldn't actually realize because it's like you don't ever see it anywhere. Yeah, it's a CGI animated Spider-Man show. Coming off of like the success of the Tobey Maguire, his first Spider-Man film.
Right.
And it's like somewhat intended to be like a continuation, but not really, you know. They're buying off of the fact that this film just came out. We're gonna stylize whatever. So it's very early 2000s, and it's not a kid show.
Okay.
It's not a kid show where like people are dying, they they do heavy subjects. It's like, whoa, it's kind of weird to watch this kind of Spider-Man thing. It really is. So I'm only a few episodes in. I think it's okay. I don't think it's aged well though.
That is weird though.
It's so weird. It really is.
So arguably, it's not. Arguably, even the movies are more kid friendly.
Actually, yeah, I would. I mean, honestly, it's about the same level, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
It's about the same level.
So it being a CG Spider-Man, how weird does it look?
Kind of weird. See, there are times when they do some interesting cell shading that's like, okay, that doesn't look too bad, but it's also like, it's the character models don't look very good. They're very not right. But I feel like this could have been cutting edge.
That's true.
Quote unquote cutting edge for TV at the time.
And so it being done by MTV, how passionate are the love stories?
How passionate?
Yeah.
Love stories.
Yeah.
See, I wouldn't call it love stories.
So there's no Mary Jane or anything like that?
Oh, we have a Mary Jane, yes.
But
we haven't given her a love story yet. It's only the first 3 episodes.
Oh, okay, that's fair. Ish.
Harry is a ladies' man.
Yeah. That honestly wouldn't surprise me.
Mm-hmm. That's all I'll say.
What do you mean that's all you'll
for
say?
now. For now, because I'm not really that far into it.
Okay.
I mean, I am because it's only 13
seasons?
episodes, but just one, just one season.
Oh, so
one season,
really
13 episodes. Well. Yeah, it's on MTV. And it's Spider-Man.
So interesting to think about.
It is. It is. Like, you would never think that would be where you would do a Spider-Man animated show, not for kids as well. That's like, wow.
I'm wondering if this show was CW before the CW. That's where I'm wondering if that's where it'll turn out to be. You know what I mean?
CW.
Yeah. You know
I think I don't know. That's CW. I do.
You do.
It could fit.
That's because that's what I was thinking. Like MTV screams CW. You know what I mean? Like if MTV was to do a superhero show, it would scream CW to me.
Kinda, yeah. Except better than CW.
That's fair.
Because it's only 20 minutes.
But it's like Riverdale, like hour-long episodes.
Yeah, and like a lot of the hours is not having our superhero. Versus here, we actually have Spider-Man because it's animated. So.
So did you actually watch the CW at one point? Sorry, not CW. Riverdale.
No.
Just curious.
I had no interest in it. I was never into the Archie stuff. I really never got into it. Like, I barely know Archie anything, so I wouldn't be interested.
What do you mean Archie?
Archie is a comic series that Riverdale is based off of. I
actually didn't know it was based on a comic thing.
Yeah, and like Archie's comic is like Nancy Drew Scooby-Doo. In the 50s aesthetic, with like this guy who's I think he's the jock, has all these friends, and they go on these adventures, solving mysteries. Versus you look at Riverdale, it's like, oh, it's all gritty, dark. And one of the guys from The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody is the main star or something. I don't know.
Okay.
It's something.
All right. What else did you watch, John?
I'm watching through a show called The Tick. I've got Hulu back, and so I was watching that before Hulu ended. So, The Tick is like it's a cartoon in the '90s, but it's like a comedic take on superheroes. In that, it's just I want to say it's slapstick satire, parody. It's something. It's kind of funny.
Only kind of.
It's kind of funny because a lot of it's very outdated in terms of how it's written. But no, I enjoy the the ridiculousness of it. That's really the main thing. Oh, right, I watched
Is it live action or animated?
It's animated.
Okay.
But there have been 2 live action adaptations of this cartoon.
Interesting.
I don't think any of them did it well. Maybe one of them, the earlier one.
And are they based for adults or kids? Sorry. The original.
The original is for kids. The remakes are more for adults.
I remember when I had a kid, I had an idea for a parody, the superhero thing. That would be fun just to do dumb crap. You know, I like doing dumb crap.
Yeah. But yeah, that's that. And then on Netflix, I watched a documentary called Pepsi, Where's My Jet? And there was it's based upon this whole thing in the 90s where an ad campaign went wrong in that they were launching their new you know how you have today our point system, like, oh, you buy this much food at this restaurant, you get points, and you can use those points for the something. It was like that in the 90s, and you can get like a cool t-shirt with these points. And there was an ad to announce this. It was like, get these shirt for this many points. And then as a joke, there's like, you could get this military aircraft jet for this many points. And it's like, it was a joke. But they never put a disclaimer on the commercial.
Oh no.
And so someone achieved that many points, but they went through years of legal battles and they never got the jet. And so the documentary was about this like years of process with a very interesting story of just how this all unfolded. Very interesting.
Oh, so why didn't he get the jet? Like, what was the legal?
It went into a jury, and they met against the judge. So there was no jury. They went against a judge who was more of a corporate judge, who was pretty much, Pepsi was very powerful back then. So clearly, it's an interesting story. The whole thing was like, clearly the ad itself was clearly satire. There's no basis for a regular human being to misinterpret this humor as seriousness. And that was the judge's response for it to like not allow it.
How do you feel? Do you feel like you still should have gotten the jet? You went through all of that effort of legal battle stuff. I feel like you should get a jet. I don't know. Kind of kidding there.
I mean, the jet itself is like $40 million.
Oh, is it?
Yes. And like
I
the
wonder,
guy
like-
would have paid like $700,000 for the jet.
I like I wonder, like even if they didn't get that jet, like a jet, you know what I mean? I don't know.
I don't know.
That's just me. I don't know.
But you know, it was an interesting story about, you know, the importance of a disclaimer
That's true.
and fine print. But you learn a lot about things. Like, for instance, Pepsi in the 90s also had released a campaign in the Philippines where they had a lottery in their bottle caps. And whoever got the bottle cap number would like win like $1 million in their currency, which is only like 40,000 to us. And so there was a computer error, and like hundreds of bottle caps had the winning number, and they were like, no. And so people got mad. There were riots, buildings burned down, people were killed, and they never trust Pepsi again. And Pepsi wanted to keep it as quiet as possible. Nobody knew about it in the US. It's wow, it is
See,
something.
I don't know. Like that being a computer error, like that would make sense to me, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like here's the thing with the jet thing. I would agree that yes, it being satire, like, but at the end they didn't put a disclaimer, so I do feel like that Pepsi was in the wrong for that. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's my main qualm with that. But with a computer error of the bottle cups, like that makes, like, I don't necessarily think Pepsi was in the wrong for that. I mean, quality control arguably could have been better. At the same time,
But their response to that was, error. We're not going to pay you anything. Instead of like dividing the money in between all those people, they're like, we're not going to pay anyone anything.
how many people got the winning number?
I don't remember.
Because if it was like thousands,
I don't
then
think it was
yeah,
thousands. It was more in the hundreds. Maybe, yeah.
yeah. I mean, I could see how that could be like difficult, but I feel like they still could have. Yeah, I mean, I guess they could have done something. I guess if it was like in the thousands, and that's
Also keep in mind that the perspective that they were putting in is like, all of these people were in poverty, and they all thought that they won $1 million to get them out of the poverty. To be like, quote unquote, screwed over. You know, people do weird things when they're upset.
It's true.
Very true.
But you said it's worth a lot less with American currency, right?
In American currency, it would be for like $40,000.
I feel like Pepsi still could have been able to do something.
Honestly,
Whatever.
they could have. Like, they have the power and the money.
Right.
They had. I mean, they still do, but you know.
Maybe they should have done a Squid Game. Ah,
Ha ha ha.
wonder which would have killed more people, the Squid Game or what actually happened.
Probably the Squid Game.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah.
I don't know. Things are what things are, I guess.
Yeah. Anyway.
Anyways,
We have our ambiance mix.
Mhm. Oh, wait. Don't you want to know what I watched?
I guess let's do that.
All right. So John,
Yeah.
guess what I watched?
I don't know. What did you watch?
Absolutely nothing. Let's move on to the Ambiance
Yeah,
next.
that's how it looked on your letterbox. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I haven't been updating Letterboxd at all.
Okay.
I did add the I heard the bells, but that's the only thing I've added on there.
So, you spoiled me
Frick! Yeah.
on a soccer game the other day. I was I was like picking and choosing World Cup games. We're getting to the later stages, and I'm like, okay, I'm at work. I can't watch the games until like I get home, and I'm at work, and you send me just a text, and I'm like, why? And your text says, "Did you see the news about Brazil?" And I'm like, oh, well, I know what that means. Because no one would ever ask that question if Brazil won. Because if they won, that didn't happen to them. They did it. But losing happens to people. So immediately I'm like, oh, Brazil lost? Well, that's interesting, but why the heck would Christopher do that? And specifically, why would Christopher ask me this question?
Could I just interject for a hot moment?
Okay.
So the thing is that, like, yes, I should have remembered that you probably would have talked about it on the podcast, but you usually, I didn't feel like that'd be a piece of news that you would text me. You know what I mean? So I thought I was honestly not excited about waiting a whole week to hear your thoughts on the game.
You could have waited a day.
Was it a day? When did the game happen?
Like earlier that day, the game happened.
It's well, okay. So then, to piggyback on it, I would have forgotten the next day.
Okay.
So there was impatience on my part, and then also, I don't. I was just wanting a reaction.
You were wanting a reaction.
But not the reaction I received.
The reaction that you received. What did I say? I said, "What the heck?" What did I say? Why would you ask me that? I hadn't watched it yet. I was very confused about it too. It's like,
That's so
what?
bad.
It's like, really? Why would he ask me this? He doesn't care. And then I also wrote the joke. I had $15 on the line. Going back to our friendship being ended by $15. You're not the only person to do that to me this week.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Does
yeah.
I feel better?
You can feel better. In fact, it happened worse.
Oh no.
I did watch the game when I got home.
What did you think?
Actually, no. You texted me as I was turning on the TV to set up to watch the game.
No.
That's when you texted me. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm still gonna watch it, and I did.
Do you enjoy the game?
Yeah. Yeah. But I also, it's like you texted me that. I'm like, wait, what? Brazil lost? Then I looked at the time length on the replay, and I saw that it was really long. It's like, that only means one thing: a shootout. And that's what happened, and they lost. But going back to what happened later on, I was like highly anticipating the France and England game. It was like, that's gonna be a fun game. It's like I was looking forward to it. I was gonna get home from work and watch it in the morning after I went to bed. I get home from work, and immediately my dad's like, "So France beat England 2-1." And it's like, He did it before.
So arguably, I was okay at the end.
You
of the
were
day.
okay. You were okay because you asked if I had seen the game while revealing the answer. He just straight up said the game, and I was like, I was gonna watch it. He's like, oh, are you mad at me? Like, no.
Oh my
So I didn't watch the game. I watched the replay. It's just like highlights of the game instead. But still, I was like, really? I was looking forward to that one because
Gosh.
it seemed like the good match. But no. That's not what happened.
So with the World Cup, it seems like that's a handful of upsets, eh?
There is a handful of upsets, one being Portugal lost to Morocco. It's great for Morocco because it's going to be the first African country to make it to the semifinals in the World Cup. So that's good for them. It's also good because I didn't want Portugal to go through. So what we have now in the semifinals starting tomorrow, Tuesday. Starting on Tuesday, we have Argentina going against Croatia. Then Wednesday, we have France going against Morocco. I'm expecting France to go through. I kind of want Argentina to go through. But I'm also curious about Croatia going through because the final of 2018 was Croatia and France. France beat Croatia. I kind of want to see a rematch. just to be like, I'm used by it more than like, I'm rooting for this team. But we'll see what happens. So
So England, it's called soccer.
But they did not lose to the US of A. So anyway,
a tie essentially means a loss. Let's be honest. After all the games we played against them, and the fact we beat them a few times, they've essentially lost.
What do you mean it's called soccer?
It's called soccer. It's not called football.
No, but what do you mean by that? England is called soccer.
Huh?
Explain that logic to me that you
it's
just
not,
had.
It's not football. It's called soccer.
Why?
Because America beat England essentially.
But England made it further.
Huh?
England made it further. They made it to the quarters.
Well, more importantly, England blew a 13-0 lead back in the 1700s. Go patriotism.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
But football is still the name with every other country left in the World Cup, so...
It's called American dominance, John. You wouldn't understand.
Right, because I lived in South America.
Yeah, I'm just trolling. Also, I lived in South Korea. Get with the program.
Of course, I know that. I know that. But you were only there for 7 years.
I'm just trolling. I think it's funny. That's all. It's
yeah, no. Going back to finals this week.
Yes.
My first day of finals, I had both of my DG classes, both of the Gershner. And like it was gonna be a long day of final at 1, final at 3:30, go to work at 5:30. So if I took all the time I needed for the finals, it was like boom, boom, and then straight to work. I didn't like that. But anyway, I take the first final, and it takes me like, I don't know, 15 minutes, because, it's multiple choice. And I finish it, and about to leave, and Gershner's like, John, since you're already here, do you want to take the next one? And I'm like, sure. So he takes the next one.
I didn't even know he's allowed to do that.
He's not. I thought he's not. But we did it anyway. And I went home, had the rest of the afternoon off. And I was happy about that. Like instead of just having you wait all day, why don't you just take it now? You're ready here. I love Gershner. No other professor would do that.
I love the man too.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, you keep sending me images of the captions.
Yeah, honestly, the captions are pretty spot on. I'll be honest.
Yeah, but when they do stuff like this, it's funny.
It's funny. So I thought you'd be entertained by them.
I don't know what Yes Chronics was alluding to. What did I say?
If I'm able to, no, I can't go up all the way. Rip.
Anyway, but there's both
Anyways,
Kirshner, there's Bucks, but we did it anyway.
Yeah. The Chronics was way early on.
So it was way early on.
I'm forgetting even what we were talking about that. I wish you could scroll up all the way. Like, why doesn't it just memorize? Like, oh, apparently it could show what I'm saying in the captions.
Yeah.
Should I turn it on?
I don't.
That'd be so confusing.
I'm sure it would be confusing.
Gosh.
This was something that I wanted to talk about last week, but didn't.
Okay.
In regards to the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. They do a joke where Kevin Bacon imitates Batman, Bruce Wayne.
Oh, I don't remember, but.
And so it's like, and of course they had a Superman joke in Eternals as well, I believe. So it leads me to things like, what are your thoughts on having the DC universe be the stuff in Marvel?
Could I ask, is this the case in the DC universe that Marvel exists?
Not as often.
Not as often.
I don't know if they have. I think maybe only happened like once or twice, but it's really rare. But I think it has happened.
Okay, but you're. So are you basing this off of simply what's happened in the MCU, or just Marvel in general?
I'm just saying, like, specifically in the MCU.
Okay. Could I ask you a question first?
Okay.
What's your thoughts about Star Wars in the MCU? Because it has been.
Because it has the actors?
Not the actors. I didn't even consider that. But like the fact that Star Wars has been mentioned in the MCU a few times.
That's fine because that's your general pop culture thing, and that's how this is being related to pop culture. But it's also like you're mentioning a rival. They're both comics. They're both the same genre, and you're mentioning a rival comic genre in your thing, which leads to believe that there's a DC Comics in that universe. What does that mean for Marvel? Was there no Marvel comics in Marvel?
Well, there has been, like in Logan, like the
But see, that's
X-23.
Logan. That's not quite the MCU.
No, it's not quite the MCU, but it's still like self-aware to that degree.
But that's Logan.
And honestly, especially if we think about Miss Marvel was very meta as it relates to Marvel products.
Right.
And I think like Marvel kind of like really established the fact that there being Marvel comics, Marvel products within the MCU, unless we're gonna. I mean, we very much could just say that was a cute thing for Miss Marvel, not something to hyper fixate on. You know what I mean? And I know I'm not completely aligning this with the DC thing, but you know what I mean?
The way I see it is that they chose props that you can find and buy in stores like right now. Like you can go and buy those action figures or those comics.
Right.
So they're using the actual products and just using it as a prop. Versus here is a deliberate mention for Batman.
I'll say first off, actually the Marvel Comics thing. I do think that there are Marvel comics within the MCU, whether they have been or will not be shown. I think there are because I think in Phase 4, the Avengers and related things were too popular to not be pop culture material.
Sure.
No, I think it's going to be super weird or meta if it starts hitting Hollywood within the MCU.
Okay.
That's where it's going to get really weird. However, with DC, I think it's interesting. I think again, like the one thing that got me into Marvel was the fact that it felt like the real world. Remember, so I was like going between Star Wars and Marvel, and I wasn't ready to get into a fantasy world like Star Wars, so I chose Marvel. And so with Marvel, it very much tries to mirror our world, and I think that can even be seen today as like for example, um, people who are upset about the woke Disney nature and uh, Disney incorporating said diversity, and like that's being reflected in the MCU right now and today. Say about that what you will. I'm just saying the facts as they are. Um, I um, so I very much kind of feel like the MCU is just as if we are living today, but just the Avengers exist. Um, in today's world. And so I think that would be the same case as relates to the Star Wars, the DC, and name whatever you want. I mean, like, for example, I was even thinking about this the other day. The fact that in Eternals, BTS was name dropped, the more I think about that, the more weird I feel about it. I feel like it's definitely like a cash grab moment within Eternals because like they like even like official Marvel account like posted a picture of the credit of the song in the end credits, and like that tweet got tens of thousands of likes. You know what I mean? And so, trying to get some BTS fans in the theater just to hear the song in the movie for a short amount of time. I yeah, I was just thinking like not necessarily the fact of was it necessary. I think it's more or less just kind of the idea of they're it's just the Avengers just they're essentially living in our world, but it's not really our world. So if DC exists in our world, it probably exists in their world. I feel like the most different it kind of is political figures. We don't. I feel like that's the one thing that's not mirrored between our two societies. Political ideas and actions may be similar. There might be crossover. Obviously, different because of situations again like the Sokovia Accords. But yeah, does that all make sense?
Yeah, kind of. But this is like an interesting thought process I'm thinking of. So you have Marvel and DC. Both are different in terms of how they present their superheroes. Marvel presents them as people with normal people struggles. Like Spider-Man, he's a college student who has to go to classes, pay his rent, take care of his aunt, but be Spider-Man, and struggles to find a balance between all of that. And so each of the characters in Marvel, they are based in just human struggles. But you look at DC, and you have Superman, who is out of this world, who isn't facing the same struggles. Like he's facing an evil villain with a weird rock who wants to destroy the planet. Batman is chasing a clown. You have Wonder Woman being Wonder Woman. And it makes me wonder. So you have the MCU, or let's just say you have Marvel. You live in the world where Marvel is real, and your real life superheroes are normal people. They fall, they struggle. Iron Man dies in Endgame, and so you create the DC universe where you have superheroes who don't have this struggle, who are your ideal superheroes, something to strive to, who will not fall and be defeated. And vice versa in DC, you have you look at your superheroes and like, they're all so powerful. Like, let's humanize them by making Marvel, making them relate to us. I just think that's an interesting way to look at both of that.
I have a friend online who I don't talk to him a lot, but he loves DC a lot. In my opinion, it's just sometimes laughable, kind of knowing, how DC has been lately.
Yeah, and
But
yeah,
he's one of those people who doesn't like Marvel these days, but loves DC. I mean, he's willing to admit like Black Adam sucks, but also he loves Man of Steel, kind of thing. Loves Man of Steel.
Speaking of all the DC stuff,
yeah, we'll get to that in a moment. But sorry, this is a good screenshot. Let's take a screenshot break. Read what I've given. We got a few interesting screenshots of the captions. So the Sokovia Accords have become Sabbath. What? They spell it Sacobia Courts. That's a fun one.
Sokovia.
I guess I see it. I was reading the A with long A, like a Sacobia. And then I was talking about a Man of Steel, and then
Loves Mastia.
Mastia. All right. It's funny. So I need to get more of his thoughts directly. But it was like, what is it about DC that you like better? Like, because there has to be some aspect where there has to be something he finds humanizing about them. You know what I mean? If he loves them that much.
See, I wouldn't say I find it humanizing. I just
because he's let me also put it this way: like he have you seen like the current trend of like some people who love movies who are kind of like, oh, he's literally me.
No.
So there's been a recent crop of people who will. This is like the film bros who kind of like love like American Psycho and such. And for some reason, they're like, he's literally me. And this guy is kind of like that. So like he'll point at the Robert Pattinson Batman and be like, he's literally me, which makes absolutely no sense. But like that's just how like some people are. Like do you get what I'm saying?
Kinda.
It's
Not
so
really.
weird. There was one review he posted on Letterboxd which I found hilarious, and I kind of want to find it and read it to you if I can find it. But okay, so you watched. You ready for this? He watched Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. You ready?
Okay.
This was his Letterboxd review. You ready for this?
Okay.
Caesar is literally me.
Well then, what kind of guy is this?
I don't know.
Like, he must be a very terrifying guy. If Caesar is literally him, if Batman is literally him,
Again, like it's like so many people who like I like love American Psycho. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I don't
So
get
like,
that.
what are you finding so relatable?
Me
You know
or
what I
him?
mean?
Are you still
Him.
talking in context of
Him.
him? Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, we can move on from that. I was
I
hoping
don't know.
you'd have more of a response, but whatever.
It's weird.
It is weird.
I don't know if I agree with his criticism of literally me.
Yes.
Because let me tell you, there's not that many characters that are literally me. In fact, there are none. Because literally, they're not me. They're the characters. Literally. Oh my gosh, literally.
Oh my gosh.
I literally blew up.
Have you noticed like the recent like well like you haven't been on Twitter a lot lately,
I don't know.
right?
But
Am I
have I noticed what?
like the new meme format of a screenshot of a guy from a movie and the
Okay.
new font that they're using for this memes? You noticed that recently?
See, there's so many memes. A guy from a movie is every meme format. A font is every meme format. I don't know what you mean, Christopher.
Okay, I am gonna try to find something.
I did not realize that fonts were very important for memes, Christopher. Was there a determined font that every meme
Sometimes
was?
there are. You know what I mean?
Comic Sans, I know that's one, but I don't see it a whole lot.
Yeah. I will. I am looking through an account that I know has posted.
I have probably seen this meme at some point,
Right.
just through casually strolling. But you gave me a great explanation of this meme. Great explanation. Thank you for that. I can fully comprehend what it is you're speaking about.
Okay, this features the format of the meme.
Okay, let's see it. That's a new format. Okay. See, that's not from a film. That's from the World Cup.
Okay, so like I know that that photo is not from the film, but like it will have a picture with that meme centered in the middle of the meme, like that, with this font, and it's very much stemmed out of this new cult of like film fanatics.
So it's relating what's happening in the film with what's going on.
Possibly.
I get that. No, I get that.
Oh, I found something from a movie.
Okay. But yeah, no, I've seen this type of stuff. It's been around for a while.
But like it seems like to have like really gotten popular lately. You know what I mean?
I'm sure. Yeah. I just said, yeah. No, honestly, this is like one of the earliest formats of memes. Like this is literally going back, quote unquote, literally going back to the Minion memes of early Facebook days.
So people were saying the minions are literally me.
But no, the Minions had this type of format where you had a picture of a minion.
Okay, but the minion was like in the bottom left corner.
No.
No?
It was a full-on image of just a minion from Despicable Me.
Can you show me something?
With a tag.
I think you need to educate me, John.
Educate you?
John, you need to be better.
Everybody listening to the podcast knows what I'm talking about. But no, these were very bad memes that were trying to be... yeah. Like, they're bad.
Yeah.
They're not very...
bad, as in...
They're like... I want to say... They're not even jokes. They're just...
See, that's what I'm. That's different. See, like that's a me. That's the minion in the bottom left corner, essentially, with just text around the minion.
Right, but it's the same
But
concept of you have a picture of a character, and then you have the text that supposedly relates to the character, but also to your real life.
I'm saying that like people can look at that Spider-Man meme I sent you and be like, "Oh my gosh, Tobey Maguire is literally me." No, he's not. But that's what people are like right now.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
But going back to why I like DC, let's move on. See something else entirely.
Okay.
The ambience mix, the thing that we were supposed to be talking about.
Oh, wait. No, why do you like DC, John?
I like the characters.
Like the characters, despite the fact you don't relate with them.
Correct. See, I don't have to relate to the Batman's struggles of dead parents.
Right.
Or every other character's struggles of dead parents. And lots of money. And abilities to fight crime. And they're very specific cities. But I like the characters. I like the way they look, the way they fight, their power set. I don't have to worry about them worrying about their homework. I just have to worry that they beat the bad guy in the end. Sometimes I don't want a relatable struggle. I just want there to be.
Right, that's true.
Yeah. That's why it's good to have Marvel and DC, because they both focus on different parts of the struggle. One's human, the other one's weird. But they're both cool. Ambiance mix, please. Let's just do this.
I thought we've come so far in the podcast that it might be time for us to say, "Oh my gosh, we've run out of time, Larry. I think we might have to save silly songs for next time."
See, I'm not gonna let that happen.
Really?
No.
Why not?
Because if that happens, that's a great screenshot, by the way.
That's a great screenshot. Oh,
yeah,
yes.
just in Skype. Yeah, the one of where I said, or every other character struggles of dead parents. You saying pardon, and I say, and lots of money. which is exactly what I said, word for word. But
what you said, but
just looking back on it, it just does seem kind of odd. Ambiance mix. Let's do it.
Yeah. So in this episode, I will express my opinions ambiently, and next week I shall decode them.
There'll be no decoding next week.
Sweet, then just ambiance this week.
Yeah, because I'm already giving you the next mix.
What?
Whatever happens this week, we're done. We'll be done with the ambiance mix.
Oh, so what if we didn't talk about the ambiance mix?
Then we'll be done with it.
Ooh.
But the thing is, you actually like ambiance.
Great.
So,
all right, so
it's just for you not to talk about it. Did you fall asleep this time? That's a good question.
I did not. I listened to it like 3 or 4 times today.
Whoa.
Yeah. Here's the hard thing about ambiance. Are you ready for this? It's ambiance. It's hard.
Exactly.
To talk about.
It's exactly. That's why I've been wanting to get past this one. I did it because you thought it was a cool concept.
It is a cool concept, and I like this playlist.
And as I put it together and was figuring out the ending, I was like, wait, this is kind of... I don't know how to talk about this. They're all the same. It's ambiance.
Anyways, despite all that, I did my very best to write out a few thoughts about each track.
Yeah. I think I specifically asked you when I sent you this. It's just... Forget about critiquing them. Just tell me what you think the location is.
I completely forgot you mentioned that to me because I did not think about location. I thought about, but I always do.
Yeah, no, just fine.
Critiquing.
But we're moving on.
Not necessarily critiquing. Here's the interesting thing. Let me preface it with this.
Okay.
The weird thing about listening to this, well, first off, all the tracks in this mix are all video game tracks.
They are, yes.
And I've not played many video games in my life. I'm not familiar with soundtracks in general. However, I still have ideas of what could fit in a movie or a game. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But also, there's an element where I'm more familiar with movies than games. So I was listening to a lot of this kind of from the perspective of movies.
Okay.
This is one element that I was kind of realizing. These are more ambient than movie soundtracks. Not the case with every single track, but many movie soundtracks are big, loud, and bold. Things are happening when something happens on the screen. That the music is meant to reflect it, and the thing is with video games, like, you can't always time it, especially if you're doing a side quest.
Correct. You can't always time it.
Yeah, you need to just have the thing looping in the background. I think this is going to make me sound so bad. You ready? I feel like the closest I played to a quote video game was Bible Man, a Fight for Faith computer game, which is not a good game. I've not played many games, and I don't think it's a great game. Like, I kind of know that.
Okay.
But I was reflecting on my experience playing that game, thinking about that soundtrack. And so I was like envisioning the visuals of that game, and and like how the music would like relate if it was used in that game. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then also with that, like, how would it relate if it was in a movie? And so there's some tracks where I think they straight up could work in a movie. And there's some tracks where they scream, video game. But there's some tracks that almost fall in the middle, where it's expressive and emotional enough to seem like it could work in a movie, but also low key enough where it doesn't feel expressive enough to fit in a movie.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
do you have more to add?
I was hoping that you would add to the conversation.
I'll add to the conversation then. Yeah. With video games, the purpose for ambiance is to fill the space. Because a lot of the time spent in video games is going to be exploring, just wandering about. And if you just wander about with no location sound, one, and two, music to help fill it, ambiance, it's just going to be a boring experience. So it helps you delve into the world and give you something to listen to while you're just roaming a desert or an old building or just trying to find something or looking for your next location. And what helps you find your next location, of course, is music, because then it starts to build up as you get closer.
So are there some games where it's smart enough to do that?
Yeah. So generally what happens is that once the player reaches a certain location, there's something that will trigger a new song to come in. So it's just like, okay, we'll fade this track and we'll raise this track. It may not be a perfect blend or transition, but it lets the player know, okay, I'm in a combat situation, or okay, I'm entering a new location.
All right, so should we start talking about the tracks?
Okay. All right, we're not going to talk about any of the songs at all. Or which one was your favorite track?
John, I wrote down thoughts of each track, but you know what? I'm happy because I don't like going through each track. I mean, I do and I don't.
Or just give me your favorite then.
Let me look through the list and give maybe a few thoughts on a few of them. How's that?
Oh, cool. Yeah, cool. That's fine.
So, like I mentioned last week, the Minecraft track, pretty sweet. I have to admit. I thought the Grave of Henry R. Avery, which is from Uncharted 4. I thought that was like the most movie-esque.
Yeah.
Track.
Considering that's composed by Henry Jackman.
Okay, I guess I recognize the name. I guess I didn't make that. Dare I say connection? I guess it's just kind of the way it swells, like almost like a discovery. You know what I mean?
No, I love this theme from the game.
Let me see. The Portal tracks were definitely more atmosphere based.
Correct.
Oh, I had a thought. You ready for this?
Sorry,
this is somewhat related and somewhat not. Now, like I Solid as Sound, which I discovered in 2016, they're a Christian ambient based thing. You heard one of their tracks in my best of 21 list. It was called Sanctuary.
Okay.
Anyways, so like that's how I started to enjoy ambient music. But what took my journey further into ambience was Poppy. With her videos, having a very eerie sound in the background. And I liked it. She actually also has an album called Music to Sleep To, or 3036 Music to Sleep To. And that, it contains a handful of songs that were featured in the background of her videos. A lot of people didn't like Poppy because Poppy spooked them out, and I think, like, again, I haven't watched a lot of horror, but I think Poppy made me comfortable with horror. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Again, like, I think... Sorry. So because like a lot of horror does rely on like the ambient, the scary ambience. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so like Poppy essentially almost like using that aesthetic, uncomfortable, unnerving ambient sounds that I in turn found somewhat soothing. Or it hit me in a certain way that it usually shouldn't hit a person. You know what I mean? So and then also there's an element with the accent, with me kind of being more prepared for uncomfortable or quick situations. So I remember when watching Moon Knight with a friend, episode 4. There's the one moment when the leading lady is like pulled back into the deep, almost like a horror jump scare moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Didn't scare me. Or like in Loki episode 6 when the Miss Minutes just suddenly appears. That jump scared a lot of people. Didn't faze me, and I watched that episode twice, forgetting about it the second time. I find it really interesting. That like and again, it's not to say that I'm completely on guard for jump scares and such. There are times when things do catch me off guard, but I can't believe like how calm and collected I can be with some things, you know. Especially, I think this is what's most surprising for me: the fact that I've not explored this genre a lot. You know, I feel like most people who haven't explored the genre a lot will kind of be like, "Oh my gosh, wasn't you know?" This is scary. It takes time for them to get into it. And again, yeah, it's true. I haven't watched a lot of horror, so maybe I could be completely wrong. But like, I'm not uncomfortable by the experience, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So yeah, just that was a thought, like listening to the Portal tracks, and not that they're like super scary or anything, but like the ambiance is like something like it's not like I think it's cool, you know. If that
Sure.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did find it interesting how mournful the technical difficulties track was. It was like I felt like I heard something in there. It just felt kind of mournful. The alien track at the last I thought was really beautiful. It's almost one of those tracks that kind of like borders in between, like it would almost work for a movie, but also it's not expressive enough to be in a movie. But that's a beautiful track. It's also, here's another thing. I think also length. Like I feel like if some of these songs were shorter, the musical ideas were more condensed, they would almost work in a movie. But because they are extended as they are, it almost feels like, yeah, it works for a game.
So a thing with the Alien game soundtrack, what they're using is combining the music for the game with the original soundtrack of the Alien film.
Okay.
And they place it in like specific moments. So here is like a moment where you're safe and you're still in the station. So yeah, no, I like the peaceful moment of when they play the sequence. That game is good ambiance.
So I have a question that's related to game soundtracks.
Okay.
What's your thoughts on the Doom soundtrack?
I have no thoughts. I don't play Dune. I've never heard the soundtrack.
Dune or Doom?
Doom.
Okay. Got it.
I assume it's heavy metal.
That's what I know of it to be. Yeah, I was curious, like, would it be your exception because it was a game?
I mean, again, it's not my genre of game.
Gotcha.
Never got into it. It's more for older people, more mature people.
I almost want to just listen to soundtrack just because of.
I mean, that's your right.
Yeah, it is. All right, so I feel like those are my overlaying thoughts as it relates to the ambient mix. Unless you have more to add to that.
I have no more to add to it.
Were you happy with my thoughts?
Your thoughts were thoughts.
Come on, John.
That's
I
all
need
I
a little
can ask
affirmation.
for. I can affirm that you gave adequate opinions that were mostly what I asked you to do. And I could say you have filled your role. Thank you for doing so.
Could I ask one question about one of the tracks?
Cool.
Huh?
Go ahead. Yeah.
First off, I have a friend locally here who was talking about how much he's so excited about the new Last of Us TV show.
Ah.
I'm off, I don't like zombies. It's not my cup of tea. So like I just not interested, but he's just so excited for HSA.
Oh, I get that.
Anyways, so you added a Last of Us track in here, and I thought it was, dare I say, the most interesting. It's the shortest track on the mix. It's very brooding.
Honestly, I don't know how that track got onto the mix.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, when I think of Ambiance, I think of The Last of Us, because maybe that's just how they visually created the world. And to me, think it's like, look at the way it looks. There's got to be something, but I couldn't find anything except for that one track, I guess.
What is happening in that moment? I'm curious.
I have no clue. Honestly.
Okay. Did you play those games or not?
I don't play games. I watch walkthroughs.
Okay. Do you
what I am assuming is they're just going through some old thing and are looking through just things that people left behind, and you see glimpses of what were memories of people's.
What do you think that the Last of Us games are good or not?
I can't talk about the second one. I can't really give a fair review. I think the first one is a well-told story.
How do you tell a good story in a game? Because at that point, why don't you just make it into a movie or a TV show as they actually are?
Can you repeat the question? The first part of the question.
According to the transcript, I asked, how do you tell a good story in a game?
Okay.
Well, sorry, because this is one mental hang-up. Because I feel like especially for a game like The Last of Us, from what I've heard from my friend tell me, there's one story. If I'm understanding it correctly,
there's one story.
It's not like a story where it could branch off into 30 different realities, right?
Okay, yeah.
So, like, The Last of Us is a very linear game, from what I'm understanding.
Yeah, most good video games that I like are linear games.
Are they?
Yes, that may have segments of like side quests or side adventures. They're like a break from your main quest. But yeah, most games will try to have one main plot to go through. And that's what I like about games, is the plot with actual gameplay. Because gameplay by itself can only last you so much. That it's just there to waste your time. Gameplay.
So,
Trying to think.
I don't know. I guess, like, I've never thought of games to be an avenue of telling stories. You know what I mean? Why? Okay, so why go into the effort of making a game instead of just telling a story? Like let me say this. Like, if you're, I'll say Star Wars. If you're a Jedi on a mission and you've always dreamed of, being a Star Wars character, then cool, you get to live out your Jedi dreams in the video game. I can kind of get that, right? You get your saber and you slash at people.
Correct.
But if it's, dare I say, like a canon story, like, oh yeah, this video game is canon, but we're gonna tell it in a video game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why a video game?
Why a book? Why a comic book? It's just a different genre, and they just want more people to get into the IP, so they create a video game, which entices different breed of people to come and experience Star Wars.
But couldn't you do that with a story that's not canon?
You could, Sure, you could, but making it canon means, oh, it's canon, so I have to do this. That brings in the urgency to experience it because it's canonicity.
So
But it
I
helps
understand
you.
that.
Also helps you feel that you're experiencing something that's part of the world that you know.
So I can kind of understand that from the perspective of, oh my gosh, I've watched all the Star Wars movies. Let me experience it through a video game. But what about vice versa? Because you kind of mentioned that.
What do you mean by vice versa?
Like someone who like picked up the Star Wars game but not played Star Wars.
Oh, not like
Sorry,
watch
watch
the
experience
films.
Star Wars. Yeah.
Okay. What do you want me to say about it?
Didn't you just allude to that? Like that could be a
Yeah,
way to bring
that's
it.
what I alluded to. I don't know what you're asking me.
Well, I guess like the video game doesn't have to be canon for someone to be brought into the world of Star Wars. I feel like if it is canon, that's a way to entice or already fans to get the game so they can continue on in the story. Feels more like a way to cash grab fans than to tell a story.
Okay. I don't
Like,
get what your trouble with the story being canon or not.
I guess like again, it stems from my lack of knowledge of games, right?
Okay.
I guess it stems from the fact that I don't understand how a good story could be told through a game, um, and then with that, a linear game, um, because I've always thought like sometimes the fun part of games is the fact that it can spawn off into different directions that um, could take you into a different story, like that the what's that? Pick your own adventure.
It's like an RPG role playing game.
Um, so do those spawn off into different stories?
Yeah. Those you have different options of stories. You can tell those stories from different points in times. You can do whatever, whenever you want with those stories, and you can choose how those stories are told. It's the choice of that. Part of what makes the linear games, single stories, fun to watch is that you will get to I don't know, you just do it. You just do it. You get to be a Jedi. You get to be Batman, beating up all these people. It's like you can visualize how you do this
Does
and
that
have
hurt the
fun
replay?
with it, and it helps you connect with your character kind of when you do it.
Does that hurt the replayability?
It really depends on the game. It depends on how they tell the story. If the story is replayable, if there's something new that you can achieve from it, and well, pretty much like if you actually like the combat experience.
Speaking about canon,
Mm.
DC.
Um, what about DC?
I thought we were going to talk about DC.
Okay, well, canon is a different thing, but yeah,
Well,
DC
I
news.
thought it is related because it doesn't James Gunn want to force just to focus on one canon timeline.
Uh,
Like you were talking about how upset you were about like, oh, now we can't have off canon animated stuff. All the animated stuff has to be part of the same linear canon. Right.
that wasn't specifically James Gunn. That was a direction that the studio was like thinking of going in.
Oh, but that is what's going to happen, right?
We don't know. We're like right now, app is everything in the air. Like I said, with the recent DC stuff is that we're not getting Wonder Woman 3. Aquaman 2 is likely the last that we'll get with Aquaman. Man of Steel 2 is kind of in the air right now. And so, like, really, it's like very confusing because one week we're like, we're getting Man of Steel 2 with Henry Cavill coming back, and the next week it's like, well, we'll see. Maybe, maybe not. And so it's like, oh, I don't know how to feel. There's just so much going on, and it's very confusing. For instance, the actor for Uncle Ben is like he could be recast for a different DC character. Which I should be upset about, but like he's a perfect casting for that character. Like honestly, he really is.
So, would you expect that at the next Comic-Con, James Gunn could give us an outline of what to expect?
Honestly, it'd be funny if they did that.
Why would you say it'd be funny?
It'd be funny because it'd be mirroring Marvel's phases. It's kind of what that is.
But isn't that almost kind of what DC wants to do?
Sure, I guess.
I feel like also just at this point, because there's just so much up in the air, that it almost just makes sense for James Gunn to come out at one point and be like, okay, this is what you should expect from us for at least the next 2 years.
Hey guys, here's phase 1.
Yeah.
And he'll make a joke about it. Haha, I learned this with Kevin while I'm here. Yeah, that's the humor that I can imagine from it. But yeah, DC, I have no clue what's going on with DC. I hope they end up working out, but like I have no clue. We had a trailer for another trailer for a game that we've been knowing it's coming for years now, a Suicide Squad game, and there they announced like, okay, Batman is going to be a character, and this will be the final performance of Kevin Conroy as Batman.
I didn't know that was a video game.
What?
That thing.
Suicide Squad? It's a new game that's coming out. It's called Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. That's the title of the game.
Yeah, I actually thought it was an animated adventure.
Oh no, it's a game.
Okay. I guess that game could do numbers.
I see. Just because of the passing of Kevin, I think it will. I don't know if the game will be good though. I like the studio that's being made from, but with what I've seen, I'm not that interested.
Makes sense.
And plus, they're kind of messing up their own continuity. Because it's like, this game is going to be taking place in the same universe of there are Batman games that we made. But it's like, wait, but that game ended like this. Why is this like this? Also, why is that character black when he was Hispanic in the other game?
Huh.
Yeah, no. They clearly were just, I don't know. But anyway, that game's coming out. That will be our last Conroy performance until we get that Batman cartoon, if we ever get that one.
So you're saying there's something recorded for some Batman cartoon?
So Batman is going to be playing Batman. No, sorry. Kevin Conroy is going to be playing, well, has recorded lines, I believe, for Batman's father in this new animated show that they've been trying to make for years now, which I assume will be going to Amazon. I believe that's what Amazon's trying to do, is get the DC animated content. So we'll see what happens.
Arguably, that shouldn't make sense because we already have HBO Max, right? Which is now going to be Max.
Right, but again, like Warner Brothers is like selling some of their content. So DC animated content, again, they don't really care about their animation department. They're like, oh, we'll sell it to Amazon to help produce that.
How do we feel about Max?
I think that's so dumb.
It is. It's too simple.
Discovery Max, I would be fine with. Just Max?
Why couldn't they just keep the HBO?
Yeah, no.
It really rolled off the tongue.
Why Max? I get it. HBO Max, but Max is just so dumb. Anyway, I have sent you my featured mix, which is a mixtape on songs that were featured on movies that became popular for those movies, or the movies are forever, or these songs are forever connected to films. So, going from the top, we have Extreme Ways, which plays in every Bourne film. Then we have Eye of the Tiger. Then Mr. Blue Sky. Live and Let Die. Hooked on a Feeling. Staying Alive. Kung Fu Fighting. All Star. You'll know this one. Running Up That Hill, A Deal with God. I wonder why this is here.
So actually, a little surprised you put that in there.
Honestly, that was a last-minute addition. Because it was getting so popular with Stranger Things. It's like, honestly, it perfectly matches this mixtape. Then we have The Night Begins to Shine, Bohemian Rhapsody, and The Sounds of Silence from Simon and Garfunkel.
Cool. I will actually say I do recognize about half the songs to some degree.
I figured you probably would.
So hopefully next time we do the episode, we could just talk about it.
Yeah.
That's my hope.
Hopefully, yeah. No. I'm trying to do things where I'm alternating between soundtracks and just lyrics. So it's not just constantly soundtracks.
Okay. So with it being the end of the year, I don't have it on me or ready, okay. But at some point I will give you best songs of 22 playlist.
Cool. Nice.
Yeah. And I will say this. Do you want a little spoiler?
Oh.
This year was heavily dominated by K-pop.
You told me this last week.
Did I?
You did. I would have expected it.
Yeah. So because you'd rather listen to K-pop than metal.
Did I say that?
I know it is true.
Why? Because every time a metal song came in your previous one, I'd be like, it's so aggressive.
Pretty much.
It's too aggressive for me. I don't like it. Hug. Why'd you give this to me, Christopher? You're such a bad friend. Spoiling a soccer game. Making me lose $15. Man. Gotta rethink this. Anyway, I think that's a good place to end off today. Actually, no. Let's end off with our, let's just continue our ambiance as we close today's episode. Mm-hmm. 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 But I think Poppy may be comfortable with war.